same thing for Coach Brown. Biggest improvements you need to make from this week to next week? Obviously.
Yeah, sure. It'll be the same as what Coach Brown, I'm sure, shared with you all. You can't. I came in here last week and we all talked about, right, our three non-negotiables on offense are the ball, playing with perfect effort and physicality, and playing with great details. And unfortunately, we didn't take care of the football. And one of the number one precursors to winning football games is still turnover margin, no matter how much the game changes. We didn't take care of the football. We lost turnover margin, and on offense, we didn't do our part in that. So that's got to be the first and number one thing that we fix and stay getting fixed. It isn't something that I'm coming in here where we say we didn't coach it good enough necessarily, right? But at the end of the day, if it doesn't get done, it's our jobs as coaches to make sure we take care of it and win the turnover margin. So that's got to be our thing. We continue to stress with our players, and they share the same frustrations in doing that, and we're going to get it fixed, continue to grow. We've got to play more physical, and we know that. We have video that backs that up that we've got to fix. And then, of course, our details in every scenario of how what plays we do call and making our plays work have got to grow. So we have video evidence of what we've got to fix. Now we're going to go about fixing it, especially these big two physical practices that we'll have, and keep taking steps.
Coach Brown talked about physical as well, and you mentioned it there. It sort of sounds like a thing you can talk about, but it's harder to fix. Is it hard to?
Well, yeah, and it's not, and it's still like we love our guys. Our guys, are still the guys that we love, and that we appreciate the work they put in. So now you've went through an off season and through fall camp where you do have to practice differently, and sometimes physicality wise, just to make sure you get your guys to the games. And then still practice hard. And we do those things. But now, again, it's like anything. If something happens, you either ignore it or you face it. And I think we're a staff, and from our head coach down, that's going to face our issues and make sure we fix them. So we've got to go about fixing them and be more physical. It's not like anything. We played hard on offense, but that doesn't always mean because you play hard that you don't have maybe meaningful contact, things we've talked about of playing physical and finishing and moving people from where they want to be against their will. That's a totally different story. Doesn't mean necessarily if you don't do that, you didn't play hard, but were you physical while playing hard? And we just got to continue to stress that to the guys and make sure we take a step.
Thoughts on Ezdale Saturday?
Yeah, you know what? We talked about it yesterday with him. You know what? He played. That's the most he's ever played, certainly in a game, and especially in a game one. And it's to be expected. He had a great offseason, great spring, prepared well. Ezdale's a tough dude. He's strong. He lifts with the running backs. He is fast enough. Some would say, well, how fast is he in those things? But he's fast enough to be a good player in this league. He'll have a good year this year, and he'll grow. He knows he's got to take some stuff. Like there was some stuff in the game blocking wise that I thought, he should play with his strengths and those things. But I thought it was a really good step for him in game one, and it's no surprise to me. And the beautiful thing is you can move him around because he knows, he's really heady. He knows all our spots on the field, so we're going to be able to move him around, play him at multiple places, and let him kind of pick up reps when somebody gets tired type things. But I was proud of him. It was a good start for him.
And more opportunities for him down the road?
I think so. We believe so. I do. Anytime like anything, like you certainly saw the things, which from all our guys, especially as pass catchers, like they settled in and really, I would hope you all saw and we see, like we expect them to continue to take steps where there was real confidence out there to catch the ball in traffic and that, to not make it a big deal. Like that's your job. That's our job. Let's keep going. And he's got strong confidence in catching the football. I think you could tell that.
Sam seemed to catch the ball a little better. Pretty happy with that, the way he caught the ball.
Yeah, he did. And like I was, you don't want to allude to things until they happen, but that's no surprise, right? He has put in, like he's found truth through the work, right? He really has. So he's been doing that in fall camp, late spring, really put in work. So no surprise to us or me that he did it, but he needed to do it in that setting. And now it's just kind of like, all right, let's go to work. Because now the next step for us is we got to score touchdowns. We have to score touchdowns in the open field and make some things happen for our offense and make things easier so we don't have to call another play,
What did it show in Sam
that he dropped the ball and then he fumbled and then came back and played well.
Yeah, I mean, it's crucial. It's like getting up here and talking in front of you all. It's much easier to do after a win. You know what I mean? Very, very easy to do then. But this stuff, this is what what's the profession we've chosen. And as I talked about last week, like it's not easy to do what those guys go out there and do. And so he goes out and gets hit pretty good, takes it on the chin a little bit, and instead of flinching, he just pulled himself up, went back to work, trusting the stuff that he's put in, and therefore got positive results. So kudos to him for being wired in the right way to be able to handle some negative and turn it all into something pretty positive, and then hopefully have a strong desire to want more now.
How much did the absence of Michael Laughlin affect you? One, in what you would have called in the running game, and two, know that there's been the idea of trying to get the tight ends involved more in passing game.
Sure. Fair question, and certainly wouldn't dodge the fact that we miss Mike O. Proud of the effort Banks made. I thought he played his best game and was really wired in, did a good job. But at the same time, Mike O is the starter there. To say he wouldn't be missed would be, completely wrong. So he was missed, and it affects things as it would anybody as you pull a starter away from your lineup. But again, Banks did a nice job, and we've got to continue to get Mike back and work with him to get in, because his game plan will be affected, and some things we can do out of two tights as well.
Along those lines here, if you had to play more without tight ends with 10 personnel stuff, what has to change to be better than you all saw on Saturday?
Sure. Well, you know what? First off, there's no secret. You lose run game possibilities and answers when you go 10 personnel. So finding those will be good. And then, of course, as it goes, our pass catchers have got to be explosive. And I think we were explosive in the pass game, but explosives have to equal touchdowns sometimes too. So we're going to keep pressing our guys, and it's my job also. We've got to work and drill and make sure we understand. It's kind of I really believe this, and Coach Brown, we've talked about it, like there is a true thing to life in football. Like it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. Like I think, therefore I am. If you want to get better at running with it after the catch and can see yourself scoring touchdowns, that's what will happen. If you want to get better at catching the football, that's what will happen. If we want to get better with physicality and taking care of the football this week, that's what will happen. And it's our job to help that. Our players are committed to it. So I know that's a loaded answer, but it truly is. Like we've got to find ways to create space and be explosive in the pass game, and then we certainly will go to work on finding those detached runs as well.
What did you think of Davies' pocket presence? A lot was made of it, in the offseason, kind of developing that mobility. Neil mentioned he thought he maybe should have stepped up in the pocket a few more times with some of the edge rushing. Just curious what you saw from there.
Yeah, it would be the same as what Neil alluded to. Like, it wasn't by any means. It's still better, but he, there was a couple times that there's two or three that could have been better that would have helped us. And then the one time it was a good job of getting away from it and stepping up, and just a poor decision when he did, on the one interception. So there's growth, but like anything in it's a high attention position. Every decision that he makes is very difficult, and it affects us on each and every play, and he knows that, and that's the beauty of playing that position. So I thought there were some good things, as we all did, and then of course there's two or three where we could have been better.
What do you hope to get out of this week?
Just that West Virginia doesn't beat West Virginia. It's our mantra. It's what Coach Brown's message is. It's my job as a coordinator and a position coach to carry out the message of the head coach. That's one of our biggest pushes, and so we're going to make sure that our offense and the unit I'm responsible for doesn't beat West Virginia, and that means we got to make it about ourselves, and to play better this Saturday, which we will. We've got to practice better today, and so that's what the response that we're wanting to see.
Gerad, Winston had 217 return yards on Saturday. I was curious how if at all that kind of workload and that kind of fatigue that I'm sure comes with that, how if at all did that impact him offensively?
Sure. Well, he had a special day. I didn't realize how special until that stuff came out today. I guess it was an in-game record, correct? That's pretty sweet company. They did a great job with the scheme, and he had a great job on KOR. I think it would probably be. I would be remiss if I didn't admit that there were some fatigue routes. Like there were some fatigue things that if I had to do better, we'd have probably subbed better at times. He's been a special player for us in the spring last year and now. But it's fair. I mean, he really did. He had a lot of yardage on those returns that could have affected a few things. But we expect him to be great, and he is great. And we're going to expect him to be great on KOR and at wideout. And he knows there's about 5 or 6 moments offensively that he knows that are easy fixes for him, and he'll get them fixed. That's going to allow him to have big days in both phases, if that makes sense.
What do you think some of those fixes are? What are ones that really stand out to
Yeah, so to me, not to get too technical, but for me, at times Winston can push routes and maybe take on contact when getting collision in routes in foot-over-foot phase, we call it. So we really want him to have the ability to pop his feet and take on contact the right way, and there was 2 or 3 moments where he didn't. And so it's my job to make sure when he has those moments to win at the break point or that collision point in a route that he's prepared for it. And those are the things we got to clean up with him. That was the biggest, probably the most glaring one with him in a couple moments.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
Thank you all.